Spags, we're back. Same show, new channel. It is Splash Play. It's Pete and Spags fighting for $3 million versus each other, versus the chat on Underdog Fantasy in the Best Ball Mania 4 tournament.
Yeah, we are already in the waiting room here. Best Ball Mania 4, $3 million to first place. Going in that one, of course, the biggest prize pool you can find in the industry. And Pete and I just drafted one team on his channel, so if you missed that one, be sure to go check it out. But I'm excited, Pete. I feel like we got sniped on a few things we want to do, didn't get the Week 17 correlations right last draft. So it gives us something to aspire to here on the Splash Play channel, Pete, where I always draft pristine teams every Friday.
Yeah, and you've how has the stack challenge been going? I'm a bad friend, Spags. I have not gotten a chance to check in on those streams yet, so I haven't seen how the experiment is going. Are you randomly selecting these, or are you going through them alphabetically?
So I put them on the randomizer wheel and spin the wheel and just choose whichever one. Last week I had to do the Falcons on Friday. I did the Chiefs before that. And each week I update the thumbnails too, so people can go back and see how I try to attack these different things. But Pete, I don't know if you feel the same way. Stacking the Falcons, I just immediately thought I have to get Bijan as part of this. So did grab him earlier, I think, than a fallen Christian McCaffrey, which is the kind of thing where if you are committing to a stack-based video, normally do not want to take Bijan ahead of Christian McCaffrey. But in that particular one, I did.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think that's the thing too that makes that exercise tricky. Where, and again, it kind of goes back to the stuff about forcing stuff. In a perfect world, we all want what, the top 2 to 3 players on any team. Even if it's a bad team, you still want the top 2 to 3 players. It's obviously a little more viable to take the 4th and 5th best player on a really good team than it is a really bad team, right? Like, did you end up with Mac Hollins on that team?
No, I got Drake London, I believe, instead, or it was either London or Pitts, but I got like 2 of the key parts of Atlanta. But I know you take some Mac Hollins, and actually I took him in a draft last night as well, because if you don't get the Atlanta guys and you're desperate for a stack, like you have your Mac Jones, Tyquan Thornton late, or you have Desmond Ridder and Mac Hollins, and Ridder and Hollins is perfectly viable, I think, if you're not drafting a lot of Atlanta.
Yeah. I ended up, Mac Hollins was because I was building out a Bears stack and had no Week 17. Also needed a late wide receiver with some upside. So I do think those are the instances where using Week 17 correlation can get you on smarter picks than just kind of blindly clicking your favorite player in the 18th round.
Our guy Paul, by the way, here, Pop, I guess, back off his suspension. Has this been formally approved that the commissioner, Pete, allow him back in?
So Paul gave himself a self-imposed 10 show suspension, or 10 draft suspension. So glad to see that's been lifted. Also glad to see we have the schedule out, so he doesn't need to take, Tyler Conklin 25 picks ahead of ADP anymore.
Yes, that is a couple weeks ago with Tilt. Now let's see what's going to get you tilted this time.
All right. Let's see here. I am going to start my draft how you started last draft with Davante Adams.
Oh, so we're live for the AR Week 17 correlation already.
Probably not, because I'm not going to take him at 82 or 87, and then I pick again at 106. So no.
I mean, maybe he'll fall in this room. Maybe one thing I do want to point out, actually. So Dr. One, the professor in the room, I'll give him a shout out. He was a guy that I felt had sniped me a few times. I might have even tweeted one of the drafts where he did it in a way that did make sense, and kind of grew to hate him in my mind, Pete. But he reached out via YouTube and was like, "Oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not trying to like whatever." And sometimes I think, Pete, we have to remember, especially as streamers, that not everybody is trying to ruin our lives, even though it sometimes feels that way.
No, I personally work under the assumption that everyone is trying to ruin our lives, Spags. That's just what I'm doing.
It's safer.
It is. Let's see here. Which wide receiver do I want to take with Davante Adams? We're just going to play it by the ADP game. Let's you know what? I'm actually going to mix it up. I'm going to do Jalen Waddle with Davante Adams here instead.
Okay, that's a nice pick here. Waddle going earlier and earlier in drafts and getting harder to get that Miami double with Tyreek. Okay, so logically, knowing that we've seen Josh Allen get pushed lately, I should push Josh Allen, but I don't think he's going to come back, and I don't know that reaching for Olave does me a lot better, so I am just going to take Josh Allen here.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you going wide receiver, Wilson being gone, like I would have taken one of Wilson or Waddle. I don't see the value in pushing Josh Allen now as much because he's not coming back. He's very unlikely to come back, but I don't gain a lot if he does.
Yeah, and I did this start yesterday. It was my first Diggs Allen alpha start. The chat wanted me to push it. I ended up being in like a heavy QB room, so there was no chance. I have seen a few of those drafts, or at least ones I've been in, where Allen has slipped to the third, but it kind of all depends on the room. I do think, like, a little tip, if you are trying to know when to push it, it is the more badges there are in a room, the more willing I find drafters to be to push quarterback. And those are the rooms I would be willing to maybe try to roll the dice a bit more. But it's a little tough to pull out from the 8. I think to do it, you almost maybe want to reach slightly for Diggs at like 5 or 6, because then it's a little bit more likely that Allen's going to come back to 28 or 29 versus sliding to 32 or 33. But it is something to mess around with, I think, if you're 150 maxing, of basically being like, can I get this Allen Diggs in a sharp draft room where I sneak in another second round pick, where you're able to get Olave or Devonta Smith and then Allen comes back to you, I think is an interesting thing to consider.
Chip with a good question here. Is Olave a fake alpha? I don't think he's a fake alpha, but I do think he's weirdly overpriced with Michael Thomas coming back. I think he's priced as though Michael Thomas is not going to be that same guy. And I don't think the jury's out, or I think jury is out on that one, Pete. Like, I don't think Olave is going to necessarily benefit a bunch with Thomas coming back in and probably taking at least 7 targets, if not 7 to 11.
I had this conversation on Best Ball Breakfast. I even have a clip is Chris Olave. I think, like, in the vibes and essence sense, like, he's not an alpha. He's not a grown ass man. He's just not big enough and formidable enough to be an AJ Brown, George Kittle, true grown ass man. But could he deliver fantasy production like an alpha? I think absolutely. In the same way, like, would you call, like, even heyday era Antonio Brown, would you have called him an alpha?
No, I mean, he was small. Like, yeah, he was one of those guys that, didn't fit the criteria, but kind of overcame. And I guess, the thing you could say, Brown, a lot better route runner, better hands too. Olave is just kind of I don't know. I think Olave doesn't have an outlier skill set. I know that's the thing a lot of the draft guys talk about, is like, this is this guy great at one thing. I don't know that Olave is like great at one thing.
Yeah, it is. I don't really have any problem with Olave where he's going. I take him there a decent amount, but it is crazy just how, again, I sound like the old man on the porch. Back in my day, Chris Olave would be a 5th or 6th round pick heading into this year, and now it's just like any wide receiver that flashes that kind of level of efficiency in year 1, like, drafters just know. I mean, those guys tend to make a leap in year 2. You get the quarterback upgrade with Derek Carr. There's no more edges left in that regard.
Yeah, I'm on the clock here. Again, I just get DK Metcalf because he's the last guy standing in this range, and that's going to be the case again. I will point out, this is part of why I'm more comfortable taking Michael Thomas as well. Michael Thomas is dust. Olave, Shaheed, dust. Michael Thomas, like, and I bet Mad Sox, and it's not singling him out or anything, but I bet Mad Sox takes Tyler Lockett. I bet Mad Sox takes Keenan Allen. Like, I don't think you should have these takes about one specific player just because he burned you before. And certainly Thomas hasn't played a lot in the last 2 years, but when he was out there last year, he was good, played 3 games and was still an effective guy per target in every advanced metric. So I just think that's a mistake, Pete. Like, I think if you want to say all the guys over 30 or in the 30 range are dust, then great, don't draft them, but you can't say one of them who's been great and been a wide receiver 1 is like the one you're drawing a line on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just took Mark Andrews there. We were talking about this spot in the draft with you on the previous stream where it's a kind of a gross
stream. We go,
wow, what an interesting run of picks there. Let's see, man. I guess I'm going to just take Christian Watson here. I'm trying to think. Sometimes I do take Fields at ADP, but I'm going to kind of mix it up here. We're going to go Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Christian Watson, Mark Andrews, a little 0 RB for the boys.
I like you getting Andrews. I was thinking about taking Andrews over Metcalf, but I didn't see the way. I guess I could have gotten Miami running back for a little week 17 correlation, but didn't go that way. I am on the clock here, though. And I'm just going to take Jerry Jeudy, who is one of my comfy guys in this range. Jeudy, I don't like unstacked DJ Moore that much. I don't know if you feel differently, but I feel like DJ Moore without Fields kind of feels like a pointless draft.
Yeah. Did you see where I got him yesterday? It was someone in the chat can remind me. I'm pretty sure it was like pick 45, 46, late 4th on Fields. And then I got DJ Moore in the 5th. So basically like a full round later where I have Fields Moore teams from the 3-4 turn initially. And then Leone fudded DJ Moore so much that now you can get him with the 4-5 pairing, which does admittedly feel much, much better.
Yeah, like what Mr. D's here did in the 5 hole, he took Lamar and DJ Moore, I guess maybe makes like tournament sense. So I don't think he's building like a week 17 correlation team. But like, I just don't think DJ Moore at 44, that's not going to be where he's going in a month. But I think also, again, Justin Fields you can get for cheaper. So why take Lamar there and not correlate anything?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it like in a vacuum, I guess, yeah. I don't love those picks necessarily. I think like ADP wise, they're not egregious. Maybe Leone would say the DJ Moore ADP is egregious, unstacked, not getting those benefits. But I think anytime I see Lamar in Fields going off in the mid third, like I get it. I don't find that to be bad. But yeah, if you are trying to set up that stack, it certainly makes more sense to grab Fields there.
And he could have taken another guy in the third and then gotten Fields at 44 and then taken Moore at, the next round. So I think what you're talking about with getting 4th-round Fields, 5th-round Moore, I think that makes more sense now. Whereas opposed to earlier in drafts, like you kind of had to reach a little bit to try to get both guys. Now you can get them, I think, pretty easily.
And again, that is the benefit of doing a bunch of drafts, right? Because you really then start to know the pockets of like, hey, I'm going to try to get my Fields DJ Moore exposure from a 103, 104 draft slot, right? Knowing that sometimes Fields will fall and then DJ Moore will come back around. And I think that's just a really nice thing about understanding the pockets. It then gives you like, yeah, you have these certain players or these little stacks you like, but some draft positions and some draft rooms are going to be more, liable to make that happen, as opposed to like just trying to jam it down every draft.
Hockenson is a clear number 2 in Minnesota, going to get 7 to 10 targets a game. I don't know that he's the clear number 2. If that were the case, they wouldn't have spent a 1st-rounder on a wide receiver. I think Hockenson's a fine player. Like he's got a ceiling, and that's to me what you care about is if you want to get a tight end who theoretically is going to have a ceiling come week 17. But I don't think Hockenson's like a great pick anymore. I think he would have been better if they didn't draft an Addison kind of a tier of prospect.
My take is like, I think Hockenson, Kittle, Pitts, and Goddard are all in a very similar tier. And I have no problem taking Hockenson at the top of that tier. I think the reason it's happening is because people can squint and see a little bit more Travis Kelce light consistency from Hockenson than from like the more spike week element of Kittle and Pitts. And so I think that's why drafters, because it just feels slightly safer to them. I think that's why that's happening. But it is, for me, it's a pretty flat tier.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, out of that grouping, like Kittle did some great things for me last year. I think Hockenson has merits. Pitts, I am willing to go back to a little bit more now, but I don't have a ton of confidence in. I think Goddard relative to the cost though, like I love getting Goddard. Like Goddard slips in drafts a good amount. And obviously if you have Hurts, it feels great. But I think in general, just Goddard's going to be out there in a high octane offense. And Batch is just literally taking only running back.
Wow. Batch. A batch of 9 running backs is what that name stands for. 6 running back start for Batch here. And just snap picks too. Is he on autopilot? He might be on autopilot.
It does. I mean, it doesn't have the logo, but I don't think it has it. Does it have it on here? Yeah, it does.
I don't think it shows you for other drafters who are on autopilot.
Okay. Yeah, but autopilot, I don't think would even do this. So I don't know. Batch could be is Batch the new Ed Garvey, Pete? You tell me.
we will see. I mean, Ed was fixing to be a hero. I would say that Batch didn't even get off the runway before blowing up.
Is there any way you could salvage, Pete, a team that drafts 6 running backs in the first 6 rounds?
No, I mean, Ed Garvey was Captain Sully, and this is the Challenger space shuttle right now. We didn't even enter orbit. I don't think you can. Someone asked me in the comments if I'd rather start a draft 4 straight running backs or 2 straight tight ends. I think you could still maybe get away with 4 straight running backs, but I don't think you can. I think you're dead on arrival with 6 straight running backs.
I'm taking George Pickens here to go with my potential Seattle stack. I did think about one of Pitts and Goddard, but we'll see if they come back. Probably not. Yeah. Oh, of course. Edgar Vay, not Ed Garvey.
No, that's I've only drafted with Ed Garvey. Maybe you guys have been in different draft rooms, but I'm not familiar.
I did. That was one of the fastest turnarounds for a clip. You were like, the people need Ed Garvey content in their lives immediately. And that was if you missed that one yesterday on Pete's full stream, you can check out the YouTube short that also does a good job giving the gist of you ironically rooting, or actually, I think it was a little bit of both, ironic rooting and then actual rooting.
No, I would never do anything with a hint of irony. Everything I do is completely genuine. No, my guy Lou Dog crushes on the clips. So yeah, we get the fast turnarounds.
All right, we got interesting picks here. Dr. One, the Professor takes Goddard. So Goddard and Hurts, that's a nice little single stack there for him. And nobody really doing anything that interesting. Like Batch is the only one I feel like who this team makes no sense and it's just not going to work. But everybody else kind of going to this with standard drafts, I feel like across the board.
You know, we're so spoiled. You know, we just want someone to do something crazy so it gives us something to talk about. I'm taking advantage of not being the one driving this stream right now and just loading up my queue with a bunch of players, something I do not do when I am the one screen sharing, because it's like it's a billboard for people on how to tilt me. So I like to build my queue in quiet obscurity.
The Black Lebowski asking, Pete, can you explain the theory behind zero QB, wide receiver, and tight end strat? I mean, I would say a zero wide receiver draft is not going to work out a lot, but do you have any thoughts about the different strategies that you maybe don't deploy quite as much?
So I guess I don't really think, I think he's basically saying, so zero QB, like punting quarterback, punting wide receiver, punting tight end. I personally will never punt wide receiver fully in a draft. I might start with 2 running backs, maybe even 3, but then I'm going to absolutely pound wide receiver rounds 4 through 10. I do really think you need enough firepower there. The other ones, punt QB and punt tight end, it's basically, hey, you get locked out of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks, you get locked out of the top 5 or 6 tight ends. You're prioritizing running back and wide receiver in the middle rounds, and you need to make up for your lack of quality at the position with quantity later. I am much more willing to do punt quarterback teams than I am punt tight end. I personally just do not like devoting 3 of my 18 roster spots to a onesie position that is also the lowest scoring position on the site. That's just my personal preference. I know there's lots of smart people who like 3 tight end builds in certain situations, just not how I prefer to build. But let me make a pick here. All right, we'll do Cam Akers here at it's my first running back here at pick 82. Seems to be fine.
Oh, apparently we missed a joke about, is he trying to ruin the room? Like, what is oh boy. I feel like I'm hoping this isn't one of the snipe streamers, though I think they still try to draft good teams. So I don't even know what Batch is doing now.
Yeah.
This draft might get thrown out, I think, at a certain point.
What has he done?
8 straight running backs.
Really?
Yeah. What's going to happen? Actually, that's interesting, Pete, because what happens if you get a draft thrown out? Because it's going to fuck up your count and you're not going to know until too late.
Yeah, so this is a weird spot where I'm going to go ahead and just take Trevor Lawrence at pick 87. I don't have any correlation. I don't have any team stacks, but I don't really know. Did something happen with Trevor Lawrence? I'm trying to figure out why he's sliding 26 picks past ADP. I'm just going to scoop that up and figure it out after.
Yeah. Man, this is a tough call for me because a
tough call as his button hovers over Anthony Richardson.
Well, Pete, here's the thing. Is it getting hot in here? Do you think? Is it perhaps a little toasty in this room right now?
Oh my God.
Oh no, oh, man. Just too hot. Oh God. This is crazy. Who would have such a jersey? Who would have such a purchase, Pete?
It's nice to know that right when you think the Anthony Richardson money pit can't go any deeper, Spags finds even another depth of the tunnel to throw money at Anthony Richardson.
I mean, what if Anthony Richardson is the player you need to get Josh Allen to the finals with that dig stack? We don't know, and I want to be there front and center for it.
What is your exposure at now? By the way, I feel like we need check-ins on this.
Let's see, in just BBM or everything.
How about both? Can I get both?
All right. So first, just BBM, 42.4%. And then across everything, which is the poodle, the puppy, and BBM, not including the big boards where I have a lot, 48% Anthony Richardson, $577 in entry fees thus far.
Wow. Impressive, Spags. Incredible commitment to the bit.
I mean, look, the chat somewhat divided, the supportive, I think. I will point out, guys, this is the first jersey I have bought since I went as injured Tony Romo in 2017 or 2016, I think. I got the Romo jersey, got the stupid plain hat and an arm sling. So that was my Halloween costume. So that's, Pete, if there's any way for me to show my love for a player, it is buying my first jersey in 6 years.
That's impressive. I think I have never... I have 2 NFL jerseys. They're both Patrick Laird. One I bought before going to the game to meet Laird, and the other he gave me a signed one. So I am a Patrick Laird jersey maxi. 100% of my NFL jersey exposure is to Patrick Laird.
Also, I need to highlight Andrew's chat here. I was really weighing this one because obviously I wore the jersey in the hopes of being able to show it. But I do think if I did not get a share of AR today, I perhaps would have just kept wearing the jersey every time I stream with Pete until I got a share.
Trust me, I knew you're not buying a jersey without getting some kind of prop content equity out of it. So I'm glad that you were able to pull that out right away.
Shout out to Spike Weeks here. Rob Coakley, King Coakley said Spags is going to go broke with Richardson. He sent in a $2 super chat. Might have missed one. Oh, I missed one before too from Pius Devil, our guy, saying Ed Garvey was in fact the first executive director of the NFLPA. So that's the reference there. And perhaps, Pete, why you saw a bit of a boomer draft.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there talking about a guy named Edgar Vay. So nice to see those assholes put in their place.
Oh, man. Yeah, just putting assholes in their place. That's what we do here on Splash Play. So please don't forget to subscribe as well. Hit the like button down below. Splash Play Friday streams here with me doing stacks at random every week. Of course, the double headers with Pete. So please go check that out here as I am on the clock. Can't draft Anthony Richardson again, unfortunately. But I can continue to make a bet on Seattle that is going to hurt whoever takes Geno Smith. I'll take Zach Charbonnet.
You said that so casually, but it does seem like if there were 2 copies of Anthony Richardson in the pool, you would try to draft him on 2 teams.
Okay, so let's say Anthony Richardson were able to splice himself into, and he got drafted to the Colts and to the Texans. I think I would take both those ARs.
I know you would.
Oh, Batch first receiver off the board. Oh, he's going to pivot now. You got Odell and Juju.
There you go. I mean, is Odell your wide receiver 1? I mean, talk about a chef's kiss right there.
This team, this Batch team has to be a collusion team or something. I don't know, but it is quite the unique team. And at least he got Madison, got a young back in the room.
Yeah, that's what, we're all relieved to hear.
Oh boy, what a draft here. I think are you getting beaten down a little bit by the streaming? Because I feel like normally Batch might have gotten a monologue, and today you're just like, this fucking bullshit again.
No, I get beaten down would be if I had to do 6 solo streams myself. So, this is a treat for me, Spags. I got you hosting here. I'm able to use my queue. I'm able to tilt in peace here. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and grab A-Chain here. I did get Tua, who slipped around past ADP to stack up with Waddle. I take A-Chain right at ADP there, but a 0 RB build. He's my second running back. Didn't see anything else really jumping out to me in that range.
Yeah, and I am going to, I'm actually going to get tight end out of the way here because I do like Dalton Kincaid still. I'm taking less of him these days because I don't love the price tag, but I got Josh.
Batch is in the chat. Evan Batchelor is in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I updated my rankings by position and didn't import the whole thing. Batch is here. And he's not an idiot, or is he?
Is it genius or madness? You tell us. But that's a tough loss of $25 there, if that is the case.
Wow. This is kind of the thing too, where it's like, Pat explained this sometimes, like on, I guess this happens on DraftKings, where you load up your queue with your players, but because the app is like more glitchy or whatever, sometimes you'll just get auto drafted the guy at the top of your queue, where it's like you trying to be smart. Like trying to update your own rankings is you trying to be smarter than the Rube at ADP, and then it just backfires in a magnificent way. Bachelor, it took a lot of courage to reveal yourself here. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, AW summing it up. Hope the conference call was worth it. So that's a reminder to the people out there trying to do work and draft teams that sometimes it goes askew, and unfortunately, there's no brick caddy to help people out with it.
Yeah, man, tough scene.
That is
very tough scene there.
I wonder what entry Batch. What entry is that for you? Because like Batch not a badge bro, so he's not I mean, is he maxing it out? Like, is this going to be 1 in 5?
Yeah, Batch, tell us more about your story. That is, I think that could be Spags' best ball continues to grow. And, we have all these niches within niche. We have like the data element of best ball. We now have, the cardio element. There's all these niches. I think we could potentially make mini documentaries like 30 for 30 style on these various drafters. We can do the Ed Garvey documentary. We can do the Batch documentary. I think those would be consumed. They would get probably 50 and 60s of views if we spent time making those.
Yeah, if anything, the DK videos of the top DFS players in the world have shown us a pathway to not getting views on content that's incredibly awkward to watch, but entertaining in that way.
Exactly.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a tough one for Batch. Apparently, Batch 10 minutes he's batching all the time in drafts, so I guess he's just trying to hone his process, and he learned the hard way that is not how to do it. So kudos to him.
We got there's a lot of pun potential here. Batch bro, he's a batch bro. Tyler said we need a batch story. I did that one for you there. The batch 9 RBs. There you go.
And of course, I get sniped on Geno here by Nate's, and how unfortunate with my triple stack of Seattle. I'm not going to get him now, but I will get I will get a guy that I know Pete likes, but I also like a lot, and I get so much Elijah Mitchell that I'm going to reach a little bit for Kendre Miller instead, and maybe Mitchell will fall, but probably
not. Mitchell will not make it back to you. Unfortunately, I have run out of stacking options for Trevor Lawrence, so I get to make the least fun click in the world and take Zay Jones here. At least it's 5 picks past ADP.
Wide receiver 3 for Jacksonville, a role that's still draft. Is Zay Jones getting drafted at 130 just because he was good for a couple of weeks last year? Because it kind of feels that way.
Yeah, and I think he's mispriced, but I also don't want to have an unstacked Trevor Lawrence. I wasn't going to reach for Zay Jones, but I will take him past ADP as my 6th wide receiver and hope by week 17 he's the guy you need.
And Chip, don't worry, I was not in fact going to take Geno, but I do have a triple stack of Seattle, so but that goes well with my Pickens, and at the end of the day, I'm making a bet now that Anthony Richardson will beat Geno come week 17, and I have no issue with that. I think that's the kind of bet I want to take.
I was about to just have the thought of like, wow, running back really dried up in this room, and then it's like, oh yeah, because Batch took them all.
Batch, I mean, honestly, I'm impressed that I've been able to get the running backs I've gotten so far. And that's the one thing, Pete, I feel like if you do see a Batch drafter and they're not doing it accidentally, you just don't take running backs in that period and just get them later. Like, don't buy in on the running back avalanche. Wide receiver avalanche, you have to. Running back avalanche, just wait them out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sucks when like what you want is a batch drafter when you start with 2 early running backs, right? Because then the 0 RB drafters are starved. When I'm in this spot where I have a 0 RB build, then it fucking sucks. That batch, isn't able to multitask like the rest of the world, like literally every other person. And the fact that batch doesn't know how to upload the rankings, which is actually a very intuitive and simple process on underdogfantasy.com. Aside from that, how is the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I hate it.
Yeah. So is this, I think it's a question people might have. Is this enough to get this draft thrown out, do you think? Because those guys weren't reaches at ADP. So I don't think that one set off that flag. And I think I might be wrong that it might not get thrown out.
I don't think it's going to get thrown out.
I feel like that's people's like most popular question that I see on social media is like, is this drafting get thrown out? And usually it's like wild ADP reaches get drafts thrown out, but not people drafting, suboptimal structures.
Exactly.
Here we go. Put it on auto draft. Be respectful of pace for the draft. Big fan, so I didn't want to stay quiet behind the screen. Oh, Evan, thank you. That Batch winning me over minute by minute.
Look at Batch. You know what? You're lucky I used up all my wrath on Paul a couple of weeks ago. Otherwise, I would be lighting you up. Here's
the thing. You wouldn't have gotten Trevor Lawrence probably if Batch didn't do that. I would have gotten AR in the comfy spot I did. So in a lot of ways, Evan Batchelor did in fact quite actively help this stream.
I love that Evan feels forced to explain himself. The second live stream you guys did was earlier, so I rushed to get in, and then the Zoom call came in at the same time. Wow. The best would be if they're like, all right, yeah, share your screen here. You pop it up. And then your coworker, they don't call out the fact that you're doing a draft on work hours. They just go, wow, 9 RBs, huh? Yikes.
Somebody's a little piggy, huh?
Yeah, yikes.
Kudos. Having the accountability we appreciate here. At the end of the day, that's Pete. That's all we do here. We're accountable for everything we do on the stream. Bad choices, bad jersey purchases, whatever it may be. We're always accountable.
Will you wear that jersey in any other context other than on stream?
Maybe, if I'm watching Colts games, I don't know. I'm not a big jersey wearer, but is this just part of my identity?
That's why I ask. Like, you would actually, like, if you're just on a Sunday, like watching a game, not on stream, not a photo op, you would throw a jersey on?
What I would probably do, and this depends on if I'm back on the stochastic morning NFL streams, I'd probably wear it for that and then keep it on, and then just out of inertia would have it on the entire day.
Because it is the one thing that's unfortunate. Like, even over the weekend, one of my buddies was wearing an old school Anaheim Ducks hockey jersey, and I actually thought it looked pretty cool. Obviously, soccer jerseys just fit really well because they just look like a fancy t-shirt. Even like a well-fitting baseball shirt looks good, but NFL ones, because of the shoulder pads, and you're kind of benefiting from having it cropped out. Like, if they just don't rest well on the male form without pads underneath them. The one look I don't mind for an NFL jersey, Spags, is a hoodie underneath it. Putting it over the hoodie, because the hoodie bulk almost serves as a way to fill out the shoulder pads.
I agree. I think that's do I have anything here? Algier or Bigsby? Trying to break my Algier thing, so I'm gonna take Bigsby.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Oh, so sorry.
No, Spags, it's your favorite bit. I love how you're trying to break your Algier thing, but not the Anthony Richardson thing. Buy a fucking Algier jersey.
I would have last year. He carried so many teams for me. He was a great pick, but yeah, no. I should be more aware of your teams.
No, you shouldn't. I will happily correlate my Tyler Algier with Roshan Johnson in week 17.
Oh, there you go. Are you with me on this concept? And it's not something I've seen any data on or anything. So one of the people out there, maybe the big data bowl people can do that. I would say that taking 2 week 17 running backs from the same matchup is kind of interesting because you're basically making a bet that the game flow is going to be with one of them. And obviously they do pull from each other. So I don't think it's the same as like a game stack of receivers where you're trying to target a high scoring game. But I do think you can kind of uniquely pinpoint a week 17 game if you do take like a Roshan and Algier.
Yeah, hang on one second. I'm going to make my pick here. I am behind the 8 ball with running backs. Let's go ahead and we'll grab Devin Singletary here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, hang on. Were you talking about the debate about 2 quarterbacks from the same week 17 game?
No, just taking 2 running backs from the same week 17. I guess you could compare it to that, but I think it's a lot more beneficial with 2 running backs just because there is a good shot that one of them will kind of be a guy that controls the game flow a little bit.
Yeah, it goes back to like, obviously there's all these different kinds of like correlations, and the correlation you're trying to hit when you have 2 running backs from the same game is just that the game goes nuts, right? That's the correlation you're trying to hit. You have a little less outs in that, like if one team is steamrolling the other, right? It's very unlikely. Like, let's even just say Bijan gets hurt, Algier's the starting running back. Let's say Roshan has climbed to the depth chart of the Bears. But then like the Bears are just absolutely dominating the Falcons and they're up like 24-3. Like Algier is probably not going to be in a conducive game flow for that scenario. But say the scenario, all those other things happen. They're the 2 starting backs and we have like a 30-24 game or whatever. Both of those backs could be beneficiaries of the game going off. So there's still correlation benefits, but you're not necessarily having multiple outs to that correlation. Whereas, say if you have, I don't know, an Eli Mitchell, Terry McLaurin, right? Like in those scenarios, there's different game flows where they both could get there. Like the Niners could get up early with Eli Mitchell, or Eli Mitchell could salt away the game in the second half and Terry McLaurin's playing the whole game. And so like, I think the correlation sometimes is a little easier to envision it happening in different game flows for non-RB correlations, but you're just rooting for a shit ton of points almost in general for these games. And the running backs could both definitely get lifted in that scenario.
Yeah, and I think there was somebody pointing out about the DFS thing. Yeah, I always thought opposing running backs in DFS isn't great. I think it's different for best ball just because you are potentially cornering a market on a game. So it's not the same as in DFS where you're losing a roster spot and the ceiling that comes on a particular slate. So I think that's where it's different. But I think you're right that like the McLaurin Mitchell thing gives you a few more outs. But you're not cornering a market there because like it could theoretically be, the Niners pull ahead early and then Gibson is the running back who's getting a lot of volume. So I don't know. It's just a thought exercise. What is this? This has got to be spam. I am Elena.
Nice to meet you, Elena. Big basketball fan. I am Elena. Wow, Elena. Who is the most mispriced player in Underdog drafts right now, in your opinion?
I think we have subscriber mode on, right? Like, so she must be, the bot must be subscribed.
Elena seems like a very real person to me. She said hi. She introduced herself.
Oh, well, we have multiple Elenas. We are Elena.
Not to derail this Elena pick, but we just pull up Brett's clip here.
Brett.
So Brett is missing. So he says we overvalue week 17 so much. You could say we talk about it too much, but I just took Tyler Algier 2 picks past ADP. I'm not overvaluing it. You are completely free rolling the correlation. I took a player at ADP, which we know there's nothing wrong to do, and you get slight benefits whenever they go past. People can be annoyed about the discourse, but as long as you're not massively reaching for stacks, you are not overvaluing week 17. If you can tell me some player who's going 3 rounds after Tyler Algier in a vacuum is that much more of a better pick, I'm all ears. I'm going to trust the market most of the times there. But I think people get confused by talk about week 17, meaning you're overvaluing it. And I couldn't think that's further from the truth.
Elena from Greece. And then, yes. So Elena making friends in the chat. Somebody's going to propose to Elena, I think, before the end of the stream.
All right. I am at a 2-6-6-1 build. Finally kind of made up some ground here at running back. The Chuba was a bonus, getting a 0 RB target and a little correlation with my weak ass Jack stack in week 17. And now I am back on the clock here. Let's see. I am in the market for a tight end. I'm going to keep taking this guy around past ADP. Dawson Knox at 183. I do not mind at all. I am going to end up with my double tight end buys, which, the chat and Twitter will come after me for, but I like that discount on Dawson Knox, man.
Yeah, I've taken him a little bit too on the discount. I still get why there's a discrepancy between him and Kincaid, but logically, if you're just playing for a weekly outcome that's going to be beneficial, I don't think that's the correct one necessarily. On the clock, though, I have a 2-5-6-2 here. Is Shakir like still alive as like a play at this point?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
I had him on my Josh Allen dig stack that I drafted the other day.
It just feels like he's not getting cheaper, even though like there's now players that seemingly have to leap him to be priced where they are. So that's the thing that kind of throws me.
I like, I don't know, maybe it's just it's not player takey, but man, I love just taking Shakir, Hardy, like tacking on any of those guys to Allen stacks or bring back stuff with New England there. Because it's like I don't have Supreme. I think it's going to be Shakir over Hardy, but would it shock me if Hardy had that role and Shakir was slightly more de-emphasized? No. But the price is right to fuck around and find out with both of those guys.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think especially too, where you do have Josh Allen and just want to take a receiver. It's not like, I like Terrace Marshall, like Darius Slayton, those guys, but they're not going to correlate like Shakir does. So I'm willing to take that stab here. But I do think now he just is like, I was excited about his prospects heading into this year. And now there's been enough over the summer that you add Kincaid, you add Hardy on a good contract. Like it feels not great for Shakir, even though he's still probably the same likelihood of getting there. I just don't know what's going on here. I feel like we've lost control.
I think we have. I mean, but we lost control, but you gained a subscriber, Spags. And in the content business, that's a trade-off you're willing to make.
Yeah, we will. Speaking of, guys, don't forget to subscribe. I know I asked earlier, but please subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment as well. Your comment here rather counts as an entry on Pete's giveaway of $1,500. And of course, you will get a reply from me as well. So make sure to do that. And yeah, please go subscribe to the channel and subscribe to Pete's channel as well, because Pete's been crushing it. And that video with Hoop, that was I talked about it on my solo stream. Like I really enjoyed listening to it and watching it and all that. But it's crazy that there was that level of interest in the drama to spike the views like to that level.
I was saying it to the Soulcast guys in our private chat the other day that I'm going to spend all summer just absolutely grinding best ball streams. As Adam Levitan would say, grinding my penis down to the nub, grinding so hard. And it'll be Hoop talking about internal drama at a niche boutique DFS site company that is going to be my most viewed video on the channel. That's just how the world works. So Spags, we need to set up some kind of love triangle, backstabbing, murderous subplot somehow to really boost the views, I think.
Boy, there is absolutely nothing left at running back, huh? I'm just going to take a Dwayne McBride here, continue my rookies that have a chance to be in the mix here, but this is a little more rookie heavy than I normally like to go. And who are you going to take here, Pete? Because you're good at running back, so you're not going to be in the same conundrum, I'd assume.
I think I am going to end up with a 2-7-7-2 build, but I don't have any running backs like screaming at me right now. So I'm going to grab my wide receiver first. I had mentioned Darius Slayton last draft. I didn't get him because I needed Tutu with Stafford, but I do have my little Cam Akers, set up a little Cam Akers, Darius Slayton mini correlation. You guys talk about week 17 too much. You really think Cam Akers is going to score 3 touchdowns and then Darius Slayton's going to score 2 more on the comeback? Get out of here. But yes, that is why I just selected Darius Slayton.
Also, Batch here taking Stroud and Mac Jones at the end to go with his team that he tried to make it up at receiver, ended up with 7, it looks like. No, 6 receivers. So he did the best he could have dig out of that hole. Could have been better. I think we could all agree.
You know what I'm going to do, Spags? I'm going deep off the board. Oh, fuck no. Am I?
Yeah, you gotta.
I think I have to. Shit. I'm going to draft a guy that I have not drafted yet in Best Ball Mania, despite loading up on him in the big board. I'm going to get one of my first loves, Pierre Strong here as my my running back 7.
I agree. I don't love all the Ramondre Stevenson hype that's going around lately, but let me make my pick here. 2-6-7-2. Could definitely take a 7th running back here. Oh, you know what? I'll get my week 17 correlation, some leverage on Pete. James Robinson, come on down. A classic Belichick back.
Someone in one of my comments the other day told me they were at like 45 or 50. No, they might have said 60. They said they were at 60% James Robinson through like a meaningful amount of drafts in Best Ball Mania. I was like, all right, that's taking a stand. Hang on. I've been kind of not devoting my attention to it, but Elena, who continues to write out real things, Elena, can you tell us how you found this stream? Are you interested in fantasy football? Are you drafting best ball teams? How did you find this stream? Or did you just say, hey, there's 2 real good looking guys on there. I'll see what they're up to. Wow, that jersey just fits Spags' shoulders perfectly. I'm getting pulled right in. I really need to know, Elena, how did you end up here?
Well, it'd be like if you were, browsing YouTube and you were watching a stream and you see a sexy lady taking off an article of clothing. She probably saw me remove the hoodie and was like, oh, what's going on here? I'm intrigued. And now she's stuck watching 2 guys draft best ball teams in a room where a guy drafted 9 running backs.
Yeah, I mean, my personal fetish is watching a man draft 9 straight running backs. So I shouldn't begrudge anyone else to have the same one.
I mean, Pete, like, when is a man the most a man? When he's drafting best ball teams. I think at the end of the day, that's when you're most comfortable. That's when you're your true self. A little bit of toxicity in the air as well. So, like, all the masculine traits that people are looking for when searching.
The chat's asking for me to get bonked. Did I really veer into bonk territory there? I mean, your guys' threshold for a Pete bonk is so much lower than a Spags is. Like, a Spags bonk is just so egregious and over the top. It's not something I made a very lighthearted reference to Spags and I being good looking guys, like just softly objectifying ourselves. And that gets a bonk. You guys, the double standard here is ridiculous.
All right, let's put this team to a vote here because we did close it out. And of course, on Splash Play, we do the vote thing because we got a little more time here on the back end. My team, Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, Isaiah Pacheco, Zach Charbonnet, Kendre Miller, Tank Bigsby, Chase Brown, Dwayne McBride, and James Robinson for that week 17 correlation that's overvalued. At receiver, Diggs, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, JSN, George Pickens, Alec Pearson, Khalil Shakir, and then a tight end, 2 rookies, really rookie-heavy lineup here, Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer. And Pete, I'll read your team too for Elena, since obviously we all know what she's here for. Trevor Lawrence, nice value, Pete. Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback, running back, Cam Akers, Devin Achane, Roshan Johnson, bit of a reach there. Tyler Algier, so last year. Devin Singletary, Chuba Hubbard, and Pierre Strong, more of a big board pick. Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, and Zay Jones, along with Darius Slayton at receiver. And then a tight end, Pete. You closed it out with Mark Andrews and a great Buffalo player in Dawson Knox. So chat, who won this team? Elena, Batch.
Elena won.
Grease is bad, says Elena. So there, I don't think either of us won at the end of the day. Did my jersey win? That's the question.
Yeah. I mean, what a reveal, Spags. Are you going to clip that?
No, of course not.
I will cede victory to Elena here. The mysterious Elena. This draft was an interesting one for me. That the Trevor Lawrence pick sent me down just a different trajectory that I was not prepared for, because, you know, I had Christian Watson, I had Brandon Ayuk, I had Godwin, I had, and Adams. So I had all of these late quarterback options if I wanted to step it out. And then I'm just sitting there being like, why is Trevor Lawrence 26 picks past ADP? And I do not think I will have a lot of Trevor Lawrence Tua teams. So this seemed like a fun time to get a unique combo. The running back stuff with Batch was a little unfortunate, but I think I recovered in a 0 RB room there. Again, I wish I felt a little bit better about my last pick, knowing I could be taking on a pretty big dead roster spot with Pierre Strong. Whereas at least guys like Algier, Singletary, Hubbard, I feel very confident they're the RB2 on their team. It would not shock me if James Robinson was the RB2 on the Pats. So that one boxed me in a little bit. I do like my wide receivers a lot, though, for a 7 wide receiver build, 5 through the first 63 picks. I like my tight ends, Andrews and Knox. So a weird team, but I think okay.
Johnny Footballs. I think Batch ran away with this one. LOL. There we go. And Elena's final words here: emojis and So that's what's better. Pete, what are the plugs here? Of course, I will get in Pander. Please subscribe to the channel with the like button, leave a comment. Actually, Pete, are you doing this on your channel? Because I think we should say go use promo code SPLASH on Underdog. But of course, don't forget these unique guidelines here. Of course, if you need help, go reach out to the numbers on the screen. But go deposit $100 on Underdog and use that promo code SPLASH to double it. So you'll get $200 if you deposit $100 on Underdog. Play on there, have the fun we're having. And of course, Pete, game responsibly and put a banner over our faces to really remind people and drive that point home.
I think it's because I forget to tell people to play on Underdog Fantasy that I'm not beholden to that same stuff.
You really, for a man who does as well with you do getting the views in, you don't plug shit.
I'm bad at show. No, I promote my shows and stuff, but I do forget to be like, you get $100 deposit match. No, use promo code Splash Play. But if the trade-off is I don't have to show the boilerplate legalese there, it sounds like a win. Yeah, the main thing, I need to check in with the guys on the club. I think we're going to do a show later today. I know my guy Andy is diving into Best Ball Mania. So who knows? Might be another draft at 4:30, but Fantasy Live Discord, AMA, 3:30 if you guys want to come talk about why Week 17 correlation is overblown. You can come do it there. And then tomorrow, debuting Best Ball Breakfast with Pat and Sean at 10 a.m. on my channel. Really looking forward to that. And as usual, don't forget, the comment challenge, which applies to me getting 15K subs on my channel, it applies to any place I stream a draft, whether that's as a guest on Splash Play, Swolecast. So immediately following the show, leave a comment. Spags will throw on his hard hat and get in the comment section, reply to all of those, and that will get you an entry into my $1,500 giveaway.
Yeah, go do that. Please support Pete, but also give yourself a chance to win one of 3 shares there, giving away $1,500 from Pete. And of course, follow Pete at Peter Overzet. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this show at Splash Play Pod. And if you want to see me back here on Friday, I'll be doing a random stack on this very channel. Subscribe and come be on board with that. Any final words, Peter? Should I just hit the outro?
Let's hit the outro because I have to pee incredibly bad, and I've been holding it in this whole stream.
Wow. Great. Kudos to Pete here, guys. Let's hit that outro. I'll see you again very soon. Good luck. Bye.